Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about my thoughts on the FIRE movement. This is part 2 of a 2-part series, so let's jump right into it. So in reading through Playing with FIRE, Scott outlined 7 specific steps in order to accomplish FIRE. The first step looks at how to calculate your net worth. So that would be anything you own in the way of assets minus what you owe in liabilities. So this really focuses on where you're at right now. The second step looks at figuring out how much you're spending and how much you're saving. This will show you where it's going. So this will show you where are you actually spending your money? Where is it actually going? Is it going to saving or is it going to your lifestyle? So step 3 focuses on reducing daily expenses. This is the minor expenses that can potentially have a big effect on your finances. So this may be the daily latte or something like that. But step 3 focuses on the small stuff. Now, step 4 focuses on reducing the big 3. Now, the big 3 are housing, transportation, and food. So if you're reducing those 3 major components, you're able to build margin into your finances between what you're bringing in and what is going back out the door. Therefore, of course, allowing for you to save more, allowing you to invest more. So step 5 focuses in on making your savings work for you. So when you're looking at your savings, you don't want it to just sit in a savings account. You want to be able to put it to work in order to grow it. And so really that step focuses in on taking that savings and putting it to work. So step 6 focuses in on increasing your income. As I've reviewed previously, that would be the offense approach of going out and taking more ground. That would be getting a side hustle. That would be negotiating a higher salary with your day job. That would be finding a job that will pay you more for the same type of work. But basically, Scott calls this FIRE faster. So that allows you to then be able to have a higher savings rate so that you can accomplish those goals faster. So the 7th step looks at building community. Now, I'm a huge proponent of looking at and constantly evaluating the people that you spend the most time with and making sure that those people are pushing you forward, that they're edifying you, that they are promoting you rather than holding you back and influencing you poorly. So really this just focuses in on your community. So in the book, Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin, she went through a process a few years back of updating the book and kind of expanding it. Now she has a 9-step program, much like the 7-step process that Scott had, that basically takes you through the process of reaching that financial independence. And so the first step of her program per se is making peace with the past. So this is looking at your total lifetime earnings and whether you have anything to show for it or not. So many people, and we've talked about this before, but many people don't really know where their money's going. So oftentimes when they look back at however much they make per year, they don't really know what that went to or what they accomplished by having that income other than a roof over their heads and, food in their bodies and so on and so forth. So the second step that Vicki outlines is being in the present, tracking your life energy. So basically, she has a concept throughout the book around life energy. And oftentimes we look at, making an income from a standpoint of trading hours for money, not from a standpoint of how much life energy it took in order to make that money, in order to then spend that money, and whether the things we're buying were actually worth our life energy. And so in step 2, she basically goes through a process of helping you figure out, okay, what's your real hourly wage? What does that even look like? Factoring in all the components that many people don't typically factor in. And then from that point, where's that money going once you have a realistic wage per se. So step 3 looks at a monthly tabulation of where everything is going. So what I like about this step in particular is it translates your spending to the hours of life energy that it requires. And so if you go out to eat at an expensive restaurant, you can actually translate that to the amount of time energy-wise it took you to be able to afford that. So step 4 comes down to asking 3 questions to transform your life. Number 1 looks at, did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value in proportion to the energy spent? So basically the life energy I spent, was that expensive dinner in proportion to the value that I received? Like, did I receive the value that I felt like was worth the life energy I spent in order to achieve that or accomplish that? Number 2 looks at, is this expenditure of life energy in alignment with my values and life purpose? So oftentimes if people can just align this component, they have a lot of things they wouldn't buy because it doesn't necessarily propel them forward towards their vision. So the third component looks at, how might the expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money? So actually looking introspectively and looking at what your wants versus needs are, looking at where you want to go and how that expenditure might change if you didn't have to work for money in particular. So step 5 looks at making life energy visible. So this one in particular, I really like because it makes it visual. So you're looking at, okay, month to month, this is my income, this is my expense. And you can chart it and say, okay, is my income increasing or decreasing based on hours or based on the side hustles I have or promotions or whatever the case may be. And then also looking at, okay, now that I'm actually paying attention, are my expenses increasing or decreasing accordingly? So step 6 looks at valuing your life energy, really minimizing your spending so that you are increasing your savings ultimately. So step 7 looks at valuing your life energy, maximizing income, and looking at the trade-off of your life energy. So step 8 looks at the capital and crossover point. So this is basically charting what your investment income looks like, in addition to, of course, the income and expenses that we previously mentioned. So basically, through that process, you'll then know how much you're making on your investments per month, and then also how much your lifestyle costs. And then from that point, you can see how much of a difference there are between those two and what needs to be made up through different income producing mechanisms, or improving your income or whatever the case may be, in order to bridge that gap. Now that leads right into step 9, which is increasing your financial independence. So this is basically looking at income producing investing, and that looks at your capital, which is income producing, your cushion, which is your living expenses, and building up a 6-month cushion between you and life per se, and then looking at cash, which is your surplus. So these components, these 9 steps, are what Vicky uses in order to carry someone through the process of financial independence, much like Scott did with the 7 steps. So you'll see a lot of correlation between playing with fire and your money or your life. Looking at those 2 lists of financial independence, you're going to be looking first and foremost at where you're at. You'll then be looking at how to reduce not only your large expenses, but also your small ancillary or seemingly trivial expenses that can add up to being a lot. But then also figuring out how to increase your income and your investing and saving, and being much more intentional about where your money goes. So my favorite component looks at building out a visual standpoint, and that was out of Your Money or Your Life. And basically that looks at charting your progress month to month, actually having a visual indicator of how you did from an income and expense standpoint, and then how far your expenses are from your passive income sources. So my call to action today comes down to looking at your current lifestyle, looking at how much you're spending in what areas, and really looking at a picture of where you're at right now and whether the lifestyle that you're living right now, along with the rat race and the stresses and everything else, if that is truly what you want out of life, and actually being intentional about creating the lifestyle that you want to live rather than falling into the social norms and the marketing campaigns and what it is that others are necessarily doing around you. But being really mindful of that, because your life matters, and it matters that you actually take a proactive approach to building the life that would bring the most value to you. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.